Most people misunderstand Think and Grow Rich. They think it's a book about money, and it's not. Think and Grow Rich is about why some people win and most people don't, even when they start with nothing. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years interviewing the most successful people of his time: Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, John Rockefeller. But the thing is, he wasn't looking for their tactics. He was looking for the pattern behind their thinking. And what he discovered is uncomfortable. Because wealth doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in how you think when no one is watching. So let's break this down, simply, clearly, and honestly, principle by principle. And as you listen, I want you to ask yourself this one question over and over. Am I actually living this or just agreeing with it? The first principle is desire, not wishful thinking, not "it would be nice someday." Hill means a burning desire, a goal so clear and personal that you're willing to reorganize your life around it. For instance, Andrew Carnegie was a poor immigrant with no safety net, but he decided early that he would become wealthy and, more importantly, powerful enough to shape his own future. That decision wasn't vague. It wasn't "I'll see how it goes." It was specific, and he committed to it emotionally. The hard truth is that most people fail because they lack talent. They fail because they never decide and instead drift, hope, or worse, wait for permission. So ask yourself, do you have a desire strong enough to pull you through boredom, getting rejection, and slow progress? Or are you just interested? Because interest fades while desire endures. The second principle is faith, not religious faith, more like mental faith, belief in yourself that you repeatedly reinforce through thought and emotion. Take Henry Ford. They told him he was crazy when he said he'd build a V8 in a single block. His engineers told him it was impossible, but Ford didn't even argue with him. He simply said, "Keep working." And for months, nothing worked. Then one day, it did. Why? Because Ford refused to accept impossibility as a final answer. Faith, as Hill explains it, is built through repetition. What you tell yourself every day becomes what you believe, and what you believe shapes what you attempt. If you constantly rehearse doubt, fear, and excuses, what do you think your life will look like? So here's the practical lesson. Start monitoring your internal dialogue. Would you trust someone who talks to you the way you talk to yourself? The third principle is auto-suggestion. This is where people start rolling their eyes, but this is simply about programming your mind on purpose instead of letting the world do it for you. Your subconscious doesn't argue, it absorbs repetition. Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, but when asked why he kept going, he said he hadn't failed. He had found thousands of ways that didn't work. That wasn't spin, that was mindset. What you repeatedly tell your mind, it accepts as truth. So if you keep saying, "I'm bad with money, I'm not disciplined, people like me don't succeed," your mind believes you, and eventually it proves you right. So what are you feeding your mind every day, intentionally or accidentally? The fourth principle is specialized knowledge. Hill makes this clear that general knowledge won't make you rich. Schools produce educated people who still struggle financially. Why? Because value comes from knowing something specific and applying it. Henry Ford didn't know everything. He surrounded himself with people who knew what he didn't. His genius wasn't intelligence, but instead it was focus. You don't need to know everything. You need to know one thing deeply enough that the world will pay for it. So ask yourself, what skill are you actually developing, not dabbling in? The fifth principle is imagination. Every product, business, and breakthrough started as an idea. Before it existed in reality, it existed in someone's mind. The Wright brothers weren't the smartest engineers of their time, but they imagined flight when others dismissed it. Imagination turns desire into plans, and plans into action. Most people kill ideas too early. They just judge them before they develop them. But what if your job isn't to judge ideas, but to test them? The sixth principle is organized planning. Dreams without plans stay fantasies, and Hill emphasizes this relentlessly. Successful people create plans, test them, adjust them, and keep moving. When one plan fails, they don't quit. Instead, they change the plan. This is where most people stop. They mistake the failure of a method for the failure of the goal. But failure is feedback. So here's the question. Do you quit when things don't work, or do you adapt? The seventh principle is decision. Hill noticed that successful people make decisions quickly and change them slowly. Unsuccessful people do the opposite. They hesitate, usually overthink, and wait for certainty that never comes. Indecision is one of the greatest killers of potential, not because it's wrong, but because it delays action, and delayed action quietly becomes a habit. So where in your life are you postponing a decision you already know the answer to? The eighth principle is persistence. This is not motivation, it's stamina. Thomas Edison worked for years with no guarantees, no applause, no viral moments, just consistent effort. Persistence is what happens when desire outlasts discouragement. Most people quit not because it's impossible, but because it's uncomfortable longer than they expected. So let me ask you, if success took longer than you hoped, but not longer than necessary, would you still commit? The ninth principle is the mastermind. No one succeeds alone. Every major achievement is built by a group of aligned minds. Andrew Carnegie attributed his fortune to the people he surrounded himself with. Your environment shapes your standards, and your standards shape your results. So look around. Are the people in your life reinforcing growth or normalizing stagnation? The 10th principle is sex transmutation. Hill uses old language here, but the idea is simple. Strong emotion is fuel. When redirected towards goals, it becomes creativity, drive, and focus. Energy doesn't disappear, it gets redirected. So instead of suppressing emotion, channel it. The final principle is the subconscious mind and the brain. Your mind is a receiver. It picks up signals from your thoughts, emotions, and environment. What you focus on consistently becomes your reality, not magically, psychologically, behaviorally. So the real question is this: are you consciously directing your mind or letting it be programmed by fear, news, and other people's limits? So let's pull this together. Think and Grow Rich is not about getting rich fast. It's about thinking clearly, committing fully, and acting persistently. Wealth is a byproduct. Character comes first. If this book teaches you anything, it is that your life will not rise above the level of your thinking. So if you want more, become more. And if you want to go deeper into discipline, focus, and building unshakable habits, watch the next video. Because knowing the principles is one thing, but actually living them is where everything changes.